It's not over.
Stop the fight!
People.
Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Kill everybody. Ah!
All right, guys, welcome back to Broke Bets. Lane here, all alone this week. Carson is on a work trip, so just me. And hopefully there's not too much dead silence and bad jokes thrown around. But let's just get right into this. First fight, we have Chris Gutierrez versus Heili Alateng. I'm going Chris Gutierrez. This fight, Chris just got his fight canceled with the Montel Jackson. I think was a tougher matchup, very close. Would have been very closely contested. And I think what sells me for Gutierrez is just the kicking game and the length that he fights at and the amount of feints he uses. Rewatching Alateng's film, he likes to sit on the counter punch, and he really let Chad Anhelider, however the fuck you say his name, really let him go first in a lot of instances, and then was backing it up, and his power looks phenomenal. He's kind of like older Song Yadong in this weight class, very bulky, very strong, not quite as talented, and I don't think his grappling will work out in this fight. I think Chris Gutierrez will be able to neutralize it, but that power is on display. Every time he hit Chad, very big reactions. And Chris, like I said, always pumping the feints and great footwork, and I think that's just going to keep him ahead in this fight. I'd have to go with a Chris decision. He's just very good at, for the most part, going the distance, but the Frankie Edgar fight and the Dana fight would be an exception. But Heili Alateng really surprised me with his last performances. Kevin Kroom as a win at the time seemed like, he just beat a can, but I didn't realize at the time how much power this guy really held in his hands. Alateng, very big 135er. Also in this card, Chris Gutierrez and Johnathan Martinez, training partners, both on this card, and probably were really good matching each other heading up to this camp. But yeah, I'd like to see Gutierrez get a little more busy with his hands. Just having a kicking game really didn't benefit him versus Pedro Munoz. But in this one, I think it's just going to be touch and move. And I think that small cage could be a little bit of a challenge because he is kind of more beneficial from a bigger cage. I think he still touches and moves and wins this fight by decision. Maybe a close first or second round, and then kind of more just outpointing him the other two. So Gutierrez by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Tainara Lisboa versus Ravena Oliveira. Gotta take Lisboa here. The Muay Thai girl shows she can do damage on the feet, and has showed she's had pretty good takedown defense as well. Oliveira seems to be a pretty good athlete, but I think she's missing some technique from her game. I went back and found one or two fights that I could really find, and it seems like she was just very high volume, but kind of missing the critical timing and accuracy with some of her strikes. Seems to have good balance, decent grappling, but Lisboa looked pretty big against Jessica Rose Clark. Her punches were really damaging, stopped the takedowns, got the submission late. And looking at Ravena Oliveira's opponents' resumes are just awful. I think this girl that she beat had a win in, since 2018. And then from there, it's just 0-0, 0-1, 1-1. It's just horrible records all around. I'm going to go for a finish on the Lisboa side. I see a lot of really good attributes with her striking. She uses her knees extremely well. There's a fight way back in the day when she fought Norma Dumont, where she just punished her body with knees, and good in that clinch. Obviously, that Muay Thai background really benefits that. But she was a little bit confident, and her fight with Jessica Rose Clark at times even kept her chin up in the air a little bit much. Doesn't really matter for chick fights because they kind of all eat punches with their face, and they never really have the power to stop a lot. But Lisboa Lisboa, I'm going to go with the more accredited striker here, a little bit more experience, timing, and Lisboa, KO, round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Darren Elkins versus TJ Brown. I'm going to go with the more youthful fighter, and the guy I've seen a lot of improvements in his game in TJ Brown. Wasn't very convinced of him for a while. I thought he didn't look great. Shaolin Nerdbecki fight and prior to that. But he certainly looked way better in the Eric Silva fight and in the Bill Algeo fight. Has that grappling approach that he can use, and training with Bryce Mitchell, it appears that he's gotten a lot better at his grappling. The problem for TJ Brown would be just not getting into a Darren Elkins style fight, which is just beating his face in for the first 5 minutes of the fight and then losing from there. So, I mean, I love Darren Elkins. I love what he represents for the UFC. Obviously, he looks like he's 60 years old because of how much damage he's taken. But I'm going to take TJ Brown by decision. You know, like I said, if you're TJ Brown, you got to be kind of smart here. You got to fight a really patient fight where you're just jabbing Darren Elkins. And Elkins, fighting kind of two grappling approach fighters similar to TJ Brown in a row. But TJ Brown striking, I thought looked pretty good versus Bill Algeo. Bill Algeo, not the best striker, but he's touched him multiple times, and looks like he even had Bill at times partially hurt. But yeah, the youthfulness, the advantage with the hands. There's a possibility for a KO just because Darren's head movement is, non-existent and whatever. But yeah, I feel like TJ Brown, be patient. Don't fight Darren Elkins' fight, and you win this one. So TJ Brown by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Ashley Yoder versus Emily Ducote. Pretty easy pick. I mean, Ashley Yoder, 8 decision losses in the UFC. Just phenomenal record there. And just not a very damage approach style. It's trying to be like a lengthy, flexible striker. Not really able to do any damage, though. And then also, just a flexible grappler. But really doesn't have the strength in the grappling to even do too much. And Emily Ducote should be able to stop all the takedown attempts coming her way. Been in some competitive fights here, stopped a lot of takedowns versus Jessica Penne, punished her front leg, and then just kind of outstruck by her last 2 opponents. But this is a completely different matchup, a big step down in competition, and Ashley Yoder hadn't been active. She had a fight, I think, scheduled in January, canceled, and back out here. 35 years old, age disadvantage, not much going on with the career. And Ducote, who technically does a lot of things better with her stance, her boxing, the power edge, and she'll win this one. I might look into a parlay with her. We'll have to see, but I'm going to stick with decision. She seems pretty patient. Ashley Yoder hasn't been finished in the UFC. I believe it's 8 losses by decision. So, yeah, Ducote by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Irina Alekseeva versus Melissa Dixon. An absolute mess of a fight we have here. Irina missing weight, looking pretty chubby in her fight against Stephanie Edgar. I'm going to pick her. Obviously, very little confidence. Many things don't look good about her. But Melissa Dixon, watching the film on it, was just not impressed. She was just a punching bag on her most previous fight until she was able to work herself back into the fight. Literally had nothing to offer in the stand-up until she came back into it and was able to take the fight to the ground. But she doesn't look that good to me. Doesn't have the stand-up ability. And Alekseeva, I'm not saying she does either. I mean, it's literally face, chin up in the air, and then just throwing fucking stupid hooks and a lot of just wasteful kicks. And I think Alekseeva looks like she was about to get tired, even in that Stephanie Edgar fight. I don't know what's going on with her training. kind of just going for that dude look. Maybe she channels her inner dude energy when she's out there with that Henry Cejudo cut. And what I do like about this, though, for Alekseeva is I think she's going to be the better grappler. And we kind of saw that versus Edgar. She just sambo background, dove for a leg, instantly knee barred her. And Dixon, again, just kind of like girl who keeps her hands up, but doesn't even protect her face with them. And the takedowns that she's getting are mostly coming from clinching and trying to drag someone down. And I think Alekseeva can avoid a lot of those takedowns or even counter her own attacks off of them. I'm going to go for Alekseeva to submission, like same to her last fight. Just feel like she's kind of a wild card. Also, pretty big fucking Russian girl, 5'8". She looked pretty big against Edgar. Obviously missing weight. I've not checked the Instagram if she's like fat now or what's going on. But again, kind of a messy fight. Adds to another sloppy one on this card. So, Alekseeva submission round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Michel Pereira versus Andre Petroski. If you guys have followed my this channel and heard me talk about Andre Petroski, I don't have many very good things to say. Therefore, I'm going to pick Michel Pereira. I think this fight's going to be... You know how like Alex Pereira went up to light heavyweight and he still looked like a giant? I think that's going to be kind of the same for Michel Pereira. Gaining those 15 pounds... I went to his Instagram. Looks like he's just like a lighter bit of body fat he's gained, but he's going to be extra big with his muscle. And he is an absolute weight bully to that 170-pound division. But I do think he does knock out Petroski. I just don't see many good things out of his game. This guy just flings a left overhand that misses. Gerald Meerschaert made some mistakes. He could have just outstruck Petroski for round 3 and 1, but went to some grappling and pretty much threw the fight away. I also feel like Petroski's getting just so many friendly matchups here in the UFC. Michael Gilmore, who I don't even know who he is anymore, or if he still is in the UFC, but that was a messy-ass fight. Obviously a good win over Maximov, but I just feel like he hasn't been too good. Obviously has like that wrestling and submission Renzo Gracie background, but I feel like Michel Pereira only taken down once in his career, I believe, in the Santiago Ponzinibbio fight. That was very close. I'm curious how Pereira looks like at 185, because he's had cardio issues throughout his career, and a lot of times these guys who make such big weight cuts, they can't keep training the week of the fight because they're cutting so much weight. They can't get injured or anything like that. So maybe he's going to be even better cardio. But Petroski, again, that left hand, just overhand, it looks horrible. I think Pereira can get out of the way of it. Hit him with some big strikes. And Pereira, he's taken his career so much more serious since he's came up in some of these fights. I think the Nico Price fight is the last time he's done a backflip in it. And that's where he slows down. So, curious how this one would go. Capoeira man, going with Michel Pereira, KO, round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Edgar Chairez versus Daniel Lacerda. Quick turnaround. Obviously, not much happened in the first fight besides, the stoppage with Lacerda. Going with Edgar, I voiced pretty loud that I thought that Lacerda literally just tried to get out of the fight with Chairez. Like, everyone was criticizing Chris Taioni for the stoppage, but if you watch other camera angles, Taioni touches his arm, lifts his arm multiple times, and then Lacerda purposefully lets his arm go limp, and Taioni thinks he's out cold, and then he stops the fight. I think if this fight would have continued anyway, we were heading towards a similar result. And I'm really surprised they didn't give Edgar Chairez the finish, because people could just act like they're asleep now when they're in chokes, get out of them and be perfectly fine, and get their no contest if they want. So I'm going to go with submission. We went with KO last time, but Lacerda, dude, is trash. I mean, has the spinning attacks and all that shit. but just not good at staying in a fight, staying composed, and maintaining cardio or anything. And Chairez being pretty durable in a diverse attack game that he has, I think that he runs right through him, and I'm going to bet him again. So, Chairez, submission, round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Christian Rodriguez versus Cameron Saaiman. Probably one of the fights to look forward most on this card. I'm really back and forth on this one. On one way, I look at Cameron Saaiman as the better striker on the feet, but I look at Christian Rodriguez as a far better grappler in my eyes. And I think I'm just going to go with Christian Rodriguez here. I think this fight will have grappling exchanges in it. And Christian Rodriguez has shown he's just a phenomenal scrambler in the UFC. And Cameron Saaiman, you go back to his performances against Steven Kozlow, where he gave up so many bad positions. And even in Terrence Mitchell took him down, had him down on the ground, and he made some grappling mistakes there. And something I really see with Cameron Saaiman, I mean, I know he trains with Dricus du Plessis, but they do a lot of things very similar. Like, in their grappling, they use as much power and energy as they can to get out of positions, and it seems to not destroy their cardio, but it definitely would slow them down in some instances. And he just made some positional mistakes, and I feel like you can't make those mistakes versus Christian Rodriguez, who easily, the first round with Rosas just used all of his strength, tried to hold him down, and then Rodriguez, with far superior technique in scrambling, just completely able to dominate him in rounds 2 and 3. But yeah, in the striking, I haven't seen Christian Rodriguez flourish yet. He's looked good, technically sound, stands very square to his opponent, and shoots straight punches. But Cameron Saaiman, very good in and out of range, and adds a kicking component to his game, which Christian Rodriguez really doesn't have, so there's an advantage there. But just from watching these fighters, Cameron Saaiman ends up in a lot of grappling exchanges in his fights. In the last 3 fights, they've all hit in the ground. Christian Rodriguez, I just think, better grappler, and I think Cameron Saaiman gives up a bad position and gets submitted. We've seen that diverse attack. I'm going to go with a round 2 submission where Cameron might try to boost out of something and then end up giving up his back or something. I think the over is somewhat likely, but just with some of the positional mistakes he makes, he's going to give Christian Rodriguez something that he could capitalize on. And if you've seen the submission attempts from the Johnathan Pierce fight to the Weems fights, that quick transition to the Anaconda, and then the Rosas fight, times he had his back, he was just smashing his face in on top control. It just feels like that grappling is bound to happen in this fight. I'm going to take the better grappler. It is weird that they always are making these young matchups. Rodriguez, 25 years old, and fought an 18-year-old, and now, still 25 years old and fighting a almost 23-year-old or 22-year-old. It just feels like they're, putting these prospects against each other. It'd be a fun thing down the road because both these guys are headed up the division, might fight each other again later in their career. But, yeah, I like Christian Rodriguez here by a submission. So, Christian Rodriguez submission round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Johnathan Martinez versus Adrian Yanez. I'm going with Adrian Yanez in this fight. There's just some things that he does in his game that I think are going to be superior over Johnathan Martinez. And one of those things is crowding kickers. Adrian Yanez fought some kickers, Tony Kelly, Davey Grant, guys who just like to use those feet to kind of keep the range. And Yanez doesn't really have a kicking game himself, but is able to always, every time Tony Kelly threw a kick, there is a hook to the body or a left hook to the chin that he placed on Kelly every time. And Davey Grant, too, a lot of counters came off of those Kicks, and Johnathan Martinez's game is focused around kicks. I I like both these guys a lot. They have very fun styles, very different personalities. I would say Yanez is a little bit more cocky, not in a bad way per se, but a little bit more cocky, and then Martinez is extremely humble. But Adrian Yanez, again, crowding the kicker. I feel like he's got great counters and combinations with his hands. Johnathan Martinez, phenomenal fighter, but sometimes just not high enough volume with those kicks. And something that he could use to his advantage would be kicking out the lead leg, which Davey Grant did pretty well against Adrian Yanez. But at the same time, Yanez needs to watch out for those body kicks. He likes to tuck his elbow in and block those kicks. That's how people break their fucking arms and their hands and stuff, blocking all those kicks. So I might see Martinez spamming those, but the pressure, and I really feel like Yanez is just such a prospect, and the fight with Rob Font was so, I mean, he got finished, but it was so back and forth up until that finish that it's a great sign for a fighter to go against someone that level. And I think if that fight kept going, Font's face would have been fucked up. Like every time Yanez hits somebody in the UFC, their faces get absolutely busted up. And Martinez, last win against Said Nurmagomedov, looked really good, but I think Nurmagomedov also burned so much energy just trying to spinning attacks, out-grapple. This is just going to be Yanez pushing forward, crowding the kicker, countering off the kicks, and just needs to watch out for those legs, because every time Martinez spans those shins into other people's, it's hard for him to really land. Another weapon Martinez uses is those knees up the middle. Very flexible with his knees. However, I think Yanez stands up tall enough that it doesn't really catch him. I'm going to go with a knockout. I do feel like he catches him. I'm going to say in the second round, accumulation of damage. Again, crowding the kicker. We've seen Martinez struggle a little bit with that. With Alejandro Perez, I believe, knocked him down in that fight, and then being knocked out by Davey Grant before prior. But again, I love this fight. Another matchup of prospects in a division. Also, still 135. So, yeah. Give me Yanez, KO, round 2. Okay, for the co-main event, we have Jennifer Maia versus Viviane Araujo. Taking Jennifer Maia by decision. I mean, her record is good. She's faced a lot of high-level fights here in the UFC. And is just extremely high volume and a good just point boxer. And Viviane, pretty good with her boxing, but I think she's going to be a step behind. Amanda Ribas kind of touched her a couple times. She was almost out on her feet. And the grappling advantage I'd have to give to Jennifer Maia, but it's possible Araujo could just get on top and just sit there. I don't think this fight's too intriguing because Jennifer Maia's in kind of copy and paste fights. They're all pretty similar. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about this one. This one's not too crazy. You could literally bet either fighter by decision, and you're probably going to get a great price tag. Maia probably comes in at like plus 110 for by decision, I would assume. So yeah, give me Jennifer Maia by decision. Okay, guys, for the main event, we have Sodiq Yusuff versus Edson Barbosa. Before I give you guys our pick, please, guys, drop a like, subscribe, drop a comment down below. Thanks, of course, for supporting the channel. And here we go. I'm going with Sodiq Yusuff. Edson Barbosa, just a little old, and I don't like how he moves when he's moving backwards. And I think he's going to be on the back foot the entire fight. Sodiq Yusuff, very strong. I think technically he misses some aspects of his game, just shortening up strikes and just touching his opponents, maybe instead of trying to overhand, throw as hard as you can. But I feel like Yusuff brings the pressure into a fight like this. And Edson Barbosa, if you watch that Billy Q fight, it looked like he was fading and fading and fading real fast in that first round up until that knee. and it looked like the tide was about to turn real bad. And Sodiq, something I liked about his game against Arnold Allen, got hurt twice in the fight and kept his composure and stayed in the fight. A lot of guys would have gotten finished by what one of the strikes was a head kick, had him almost out, and he did the chicken dance for a second. But I think Sodiq just holds the advantage in terms of cardio. Making this a 5-round fight really helps Sodiq. I'm going to go with a 3rd-round knockout for Sodiq. I just feel like Edson on that back foot, and then when he gets clinched against the cage, you're just zapping his muscles, which are kind of Edson's way of staying in the fight, are those fast kicks and those fast strikes. Take away his speed early, and you pretty much can win. Sodiq's got a grappling advantage as well. I think that it'd be really hard for him to get Edson to the ground, but he might be able to, and his guillotines are pretty good as well. I'm really looking forward to betting Sodiq by a finish. Again, a 5-round fight. Edson's slowing down, always going to be on the back foot. It's going to be similar to Strickland versus Izzy in a way, I think, where it's just Edson's covering like double or triple the distance in the cage, and Sodiq's just going to walk forward the entire time and at some point find the finish because he likes to charge up those strikes. And at 145, I just don't know if he can take all that damage at this age. So, yes, I will be taking Sodiq Yusuff, and I will be looking at that finish prop once it's released. And yeah, Sodiq Yusuff, KO, round 3. Stay tuned, of course, for the bets video that will come out. I will be not able to record it on Thursday, so maybe just expect the bet video for this card to come out on Friday. But of course, guys, good luck. Okay, guys, to recap the betting results from Dawson versus Green. Pulled off another positive card here. Slight win. Again, most confident bet on the card got canceled. Felipe Lins and Ian Cutelaba under, which we hit pretty big and beat a ton of line movement on, and now it's all disappeared. But started the night well. Didn't have the best picks tonight, but honestly don't mind. You know, a lot of these fights, some of these chick fights are just so dodgy, and a lot of 50-50 fights in a way. Starting off, Alex Morono, just definitely wasn't the better fighter. Not as athletic. I thought he would have higher volume. Buckley was just swinging hooks left and right, and Morono just never intercepted anything, just coming forward and touching a straight punch or anything, which I thought would be more of his game plan. He also slowed down quite a bit. Round 3 was absolutely exhausted. Maybe that's that weight cut. He did not look great on the scales, affecting him. But good win from Buckley. Obviously, cardio is holding up pretty well for him in the last however many fights. Prop bets. Nate Maness, Mateus Mendoza, under 2.5 rounds. Boom. I mean, fishing for a leg lock like that and trying to go for submissions on the ground, just kind of left himself open. Inexperience, under 2.5 rounds. Heavy weight cut by both fighters, and pretty easy bet there. Finally, Drew Dober by finish. Pretty self-explanatory. Ricky Glenn, chin, head movement, not there. Lightweight. Knockout king right now. It is a setup bet. Could obviously put more on it, but every bettor's going to say that. And the main event, the funny fight. I wasn't confident in Grant Dawson. We picked him. I was very much not liking the odds or anything about it. I liked Bobby Green for a live bet. Turns out Bobby Green didn't need that, and Grant Dawson gave up pretty quick. Kind of just turned over. I mean, it was definitely a big punch and whatever, but kind of surprised to not see him roll to his back and kind of keep scrambling, stay in the fight. Joe Pfeiffer looked massive. Some very big takedowns. Bill Algeo, Alexander Hernandez, good scrap. And churning out another positive card. Had 3 good cards here in a row. So let's keep the streak continuing, and again, stay tuned for those bets later on. Of course, look out for those NFL bets, and yeah, peace.
I know. It doesn't matter from the trenches. I'm built like this. The old down to me said I couldn't do it. The old said I couldn't do it.